Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today. And we're starting here with Sony hinting at when we can expect Marvel's Wolverine from Insomniac as well as Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, to launch. This is coming from Gaming Bolt. It says Sony has confirmed that Marvel's Wolverine and Intergalactic will not launch this fiscal year. This year's business segment presentation and fireside chat listed both titles under upcoming for its annual tentpole single-player releases. Now, what's worth noting is that a while ago, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reported that Naughty Dog's game, that being Intergalactic, will not actually be released in 2026 either, and that it could be a 2027 game. Now, when we look at the image with this slide, they don't put fiscal year 26 over it, but it does seem to heavily insinuate that both of these games are aiming for fiscal year 26. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because if Intergalactic launches in, say, January or February or March of 2027, that would still technically fall under fiscal year 2026. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there, but yeah, I think it's safe to say that games like Wolverine and Intergalactic are not going to be launching this year, but this is just a small update we're getting officially. Moving on to the next topic, we did cover this briefly at the beginning of the last video I put out, but there was so much information in that video that I kind of wanted to separate this, and it has to do with Sony teasing the PlayStation 6 and talking about their multi-generational plan. It says here, being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle, Sony Group held a business segment presentation during which the company teased a, quote, multi-generational plan, end quote, for PS5 and PS6. PlayStation CEO Hideaki Nishino pledged new and enhanced ways for players to play games on both platforms. Nishino acknowledged that there's a lot of interest surrounding the PS6 already, and while he understandably couldn't divulge future plans, he did say the upcoming console is top of mind for Sony. However, seeing the high levels of engagement from PS4 players well beyond the launch of PS5, the company intends to disrupt its traditional approach to console life cycles. So this is something that I just wanted to emphasize once again, where we have Sony acknowledging two things officially well in advance before we go into next generation, and that is that obviously they're working on the PS6. They're, deep into that right now, and that's their main focus. But I think more importantly, they're kind of confirming something I've speculated for a little while, which is they're going to be doing a multi-generational support plan here, where there's going to be cross-gen for a long time. Now, this isn't them explicitly saying our first-party games are going to be cross-gen, but when you look at the way that they handled the PS4 and PS5, and you consider the fact that the PS5 is going to be even more relevant for a longer period of time than the PS4 was, I think it's safe to say that we should anticipate a major change in a way compared to previous generations when it comes to the way Sony decides to not only roll out the next-gen console, but support the previous console as well. Moving on from that, we have more information about Astro Bot, specifically how Sony feels about it. Coming from Gaming Bolt, it says, while Sony has stated its intentions to make more family-friendly games in the wake of Astro Bot's success in the past, CEO of the studio business group at Sony Interactive Entertainment, Hermen Hulst, has reiterated how happy the company has been at the title's success. During a PlayStation business update, Hermen Hulst referred to Astro Bot as one of the, quote, most exciting recent successes for PlayStation. Astro Bot was a smash hit, achieving universal acclaim among players and critics and sweeping industry award shows, said Hulst about the critically acclaimed platformer that came out as a PS5 exclusive back in September 2024. As part of the business update, Hulst also referred to Astro Bot as an emerging IP, since 3 titles have been developed featuring the character front and center so far. He also spoke about wanting to make more Astro Bot games in the future, referring to its future as, quote, an enduring and iconic game franchise for PlayStation, end quote. So, just wanted to throw this out here because in case we're wondering just how enthusiastic Sony as a whole is about Astro Bot, they are very, very enthusiastic. It's clear to me that Astro Bot is going to be, well, not is going to be, is the face of PlayStation now, like the main mascot. and Sony really wants to do a lot more with it. And honestly, I'm all here for it, right? This is something that I think Sony's been waiting for, to kind of get their Mario level character. I know for some people, in looking back at like the PS3 and even the PS4, they feel like it was Sackboy, but I do feel like Astro Bot has really reached that next level, and it's not on the level of Mario's, but you could tell Sony sees this as the beginning of that. So it's going to be really interesting. I think we need to get an Astro cart, right? I mean, I feel like that's the easiest thing. We're going to move on to the next topic here, and it talks about how Sony has basically removed region restrictions for its games on PC. Being reported by WCCF Tech, they say it started being a major issue with Helldivers 2 and has since been a talking point with every port of a PlayStation game to PC. However, as spotted by Wario64, it looks like PlayStation is starting to see the light. Region restrictions for God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and Helldivers 2 have all been removed. Hopefully, this is a sign that we won't have to have the conversation around region locking when it comes to PlayStation games on PC again. The recently released Days Gone Remastered did not launch with region locks, and now that we're seeing them removed from older titles, the saga seems to finally be over, which is great for all involved. It's never made sense in the first place that PlayStation would bring its games to Steam with the intention of getting players who may not have access to PlayStation or choose not to play on a console for one reason or another, only to block those players specifically in over 100 regions around the world from playing their games. And yes, I have to agree with this. I think that this is good news. I don't play on PC, so this isn't really a thing that affects me. But yeah, it was always kind of strange to me. And I mean, I guess I kind of understand it from the perspective of they want people to make PlayStation Network accounts. But still, just making your game unavailable to be purchased in over 100 countries just in the name of, well, we need people to have a PlayStation account. I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird to me, where it's like, if it's not if your PlayStation Network isn't available in those territories, especially when it comes to the single player games, that's the big one for me, where it's like, why wouldn't you still just sell your games? So it's a good thing that they're doing this, and I think what it's ultimately going to result in is just more sales for their games, especially the single player ones. But speaking of PlayStation and PC, we have another report here from Push Square. It says Stellar Blade has released on PC, and it's instantly set a new record for Sony. The hit action title racked up an impressive 99,980 concurrent players on Steam at its launch, which is more than any previous Sony-published single-player game has managed. Of course, the single-player caveat is necessary here, since Helldivers 2 was such a colossal success last year, racking up an insane 458,000 players at one point around its release. Now, when you compare it to other Sony single-player games on PC, we're looking at Ghost of Tsushima peaking at 77,000, God of War 2018, 73,000, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, 66,000, etc. And so what's worth noting is that at the time of this article being written, it didn't even peak at 100,000. It's worth noting that Stellar Blade has peaked 22 hours ago at 576,000 players. So it is a massive, massive success for both Sony and Shift Up to, bring this game to PC. And I have no doubt in my mind that this game likely played a major role in convincing Sony to remove that region lock that we just discussed. So shout out to Stellar Blade. It's an amazing game. It's great to see it getting this type of support. And, shout out to Sony for, I think, just kind of doing it right. They released this game first on PS5 for, anybody who wants to play it on console, and gives the time for the developer to properly optimize the game. And that's the thing. PC players are definitely not upset that it's coming later on, because they did a really, really good job with this port. And I just feel like it's a win-win situation all around. Moving to the next topic, we're talking about PS Plus. This is being reported by Gaming Bolt. Sony has revealed that despite its recent price hikes for PlayStation Plus subscriptions, the service is still seeing growth. In its recent PlayStation Business update, the company also confirmed that we will likely see prices for PlayStation Plus subscriptions change throughout all tiers. During the presentation, Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Hideaki Nishino revealed that even with the prices being higher, PS Plus subscribers are opting for more expensive tiers like Premium and Extra. These tiers now represent a big percentage of the total numbers of PS Plus subscribers. Subscribers are increasingly choosing our premium and extra tiers, which now represent approximately 38% of total subscribers, said Nishino, who went on to break down the subscriber figures further. He revealed that out of the 38%, 22% were subscribed to premium tier and 16% were subscribed to the extra tier as of fiscal year 2024. This is in comparison to 17% and 13% respectively in fiscal year 2022. This growth, according to Nishino, has indicated to Sony that its user base sees value in the subscription service across its various aspects, from its lineup of free games to improvements made to the overall online infrastructure. So this is worth pointing out because, we're always kind of interested in what Sony is thinking when it comes to PS Plus and what we can expect. And so, when they say expect price changes, obviously the first thing people are thinking of are price increases. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though, at least not, that often going forward. But I think people do want to see Sony do more in terms of adding value to the sub-service overall across all tiers. But, the numbers don't lie here. Sony is making it known that a lot of players are subbed to extra and premium. Moving on to the next topic, we're talking about some third-party games here. We are maybe going to be getting a Red Dead Redemption 2 PS5 announcement next week. This is coming from Push Square. It says there's a good chance Red Dead Redemption 2's long-awaited PS5 version could be announced within the next few days. While we're connecting a lot of dots to create this story, we already know from respectable sources that Rockstar is plotting a current-gen version of its jaw-dropping open-world title for release this year. As of now, the voice actor of John Marston has teased exciting news on a stream. While he confirms he can't share the information just yet, he says everyone should know before Friday, June 20th. So this is interesting timing. We, as the article points out, we did hear from credible sources that this is something Rockstar's planning and is going to announce. And now we have the voice actor for John Marston teasing something. So, could he be teasing something that's not related to the game? Sure. There's every possibility, but I think that most people are assuming he's teasing something related to this RDR2 PS5 version. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And moving on to the final topic of the video, I'm a little bit late to this one, but Konami has officially announced that they are remaking Silent Hill 1. And they're once again working with Bloober Team. This was the final announcement, the One More Thing announcement for Konami's Press Start showcase, which I did live stream that showcase and I did watch it, and it was pretty good overall. I think considering where Konami was, like 6 or 7 years ago, and you look at where they are now, it's like, wow, okay, this is great. So it was a pretty solid showcase, and that final announcement of them saying, hey, we're doing it, we're remaking 1. I think that was a pretty massive reveal, and people are very excited. I personally am very excited. I have a lot of faith in Bloober Team now after what they did with Silent Hill 2. And what makes this so interesting to me is that Silent Hill 1 is a old PS1 game. It's something that Bloober Team's going to have to do a lot more with compared to Silent Hill 2. They're going to have to take a lot more liberties, and that's going to be really interesting to see. But there you go. No word on if it's going to be like a PS5 exclusive or anything like that. But either way, it's happening, and I'm excited. So, guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.